Welcome to Focus on the Five, conversations with Baldwin County business leaders and entrepreneurs, brought to you by Josh Knoll of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. And now, Josh Knoll.
Hey there, how y'all doing today? Welcome to Focus on the Five. I'm your host, Josh Knoll with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. We are coming to you from the studios of WABF 1480 AM here in beautiful downtown Fairhope, Alabama. Focus on the Five is conversations with Baldwin County, Alabama area entrepreneurs and business leaders. We get to talk to local people that own local businesses and get to learn a little bit more about their story. Today, I am joined by Compound Pharmaceutical Technologies, Inc. They're out of Daphne, Alabama. And we have the owner, John Hart. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we also have one of the pharmacists, Hayley Thompson, with us today.
Thank you.
Right? None of us are professional radio hosts or professional radio guests, right?
Correct.
So we're going to plow through this thing the best we can. So if you'd like to introduce yourself real quick, John?
Yeah, my name is John Hart, and I'm the owner of Compound Pharmaceutical Technologies, and we opened up the business in 2007.
All right.
And I am Hayley Thompson. I'm one of the staff pharmacists at Compound Pharmaceutical Technologies. I have been with the company for almost 6 years,
Right.
and have been in the compounding area of pharmacy for over 10 years.
All right, so we're going to come back to that statement. So I don't know if your mom's going to watch this, but you can say hi to Mom at this point. My mom always watches these, so thank you, Mom. We want to get into, so first, it's in the title of the company, Compound Pharmaceutical, but John, I want to approach this from the everyday person that I am walking down the street. Let's dive in this because Hayley mentioned that. What is compounding?
Compounding is actually the original form of pharmacy. Today, most people are familiar with pharmaceutical companies. They make manufactured medications. Then after so many years, typically 7 or 8, they go off brand and go to a generic.
Okay.
So when they go off brand, actually we have access to purchase these generic active ingredients. And they happen to be the same active ingredients that the big pharmaceutical companies use.
Okay.
So what we do as far as compounding, we're not allowed to compound anything that's manufactured or available at like Walmart or CVS. But what we do is we specialize in patient-specific care. And basically what we're able to do is we can compound things that may be on back order or they get discontinued, or if they need to come in a different delivery system. So something that you may take as a capsule or a pill, maybe someone who's elderly or a pediatric patient, they may not be able to swallow pills. So then we can turn it into an elixir or a syrup or an oral dose form.
Well, just for whatever it's worth, they don't have to be elderly. I have a throat condition where, pills are not going down.
Gotcha.
It ain't going to happen.
Exactly.
And if I try to do it, we're running to the emergency room.
Gotcha.
So I want to back up just a little bit, and Hayley, on that note. So you mentioned, most people deal with a pharmacy. They're used to a CVS or a Walmart or Walgreens or something like that. So when you say that those prescriptions, those medications, those drugs are coming off of patent, so what's the difference if I were to get a prescription and I come to you versus I go to a retail establishment like that? How do the two processes differ?
Well, when you walk through a retail pharmacy, they usually don't have the abilities to compound.
Okay.
And compound, again, is just stuff that's not available for retail stores mostly.
Okay.
We also combine medications, and we can put them in different delivery forms. So sometimes people may take a muscle relaxant and an anti-inflammatory pill they can't swallow, or they don't like the side effects. So we can make it into a topical transdermal medication. And that helps with compliance and patient use, and some of the side effects are not present like they would be if you were taking it orally.
Okay. All right. So, hey, let's jump on your side. You're a pharmacist,
Correct.
which I think you have to go to a lot of schooling to do,
Correct.
right? So it's not like Tommy Boy where, a lot of people go to school for 7 years. Yeah, they're called doctors.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
So when you went to pharmacy school, that's probably not how you say it, but did you get trained in compounding? Was there a specific path that led you to that? Because you're not going to be the normal training when I go and see somebody behind the counter. It works a little different, correct?
Right. So we do some compounding in pharmacy school. I would say the majority of my experience and my knowledge in compounding has come either through seminars or webinars or just on the job training, because it is so customized, like John was saying, and so specialized that you are working with these chemicals and making individualized medication, and so all of that varies, from patient to patient and prescription to prescription.
All right. So John, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were saying most retail, I know you can't paint too broad a brush, neither can in my industry, but most retail establishments don't compound or can't compound.
Correct.
On the flip side of that, can you all fill regular Joe prescriptions that come in the door?
Yes. They call those retail medications or manufactured, so yes, we can do that.
All right. So you can do what they do, but they can't necessarily do all the different things that you do.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
And typically how we get patients is we actually go to the doctors in the different disciplines, and we sort of offer and show them the capabilities that we have for their patients.
Right.
When a pharmaceutical company makes a medication, they're mostly in it to help patients, but also for a financial gain.
Right.
So for efficiency, they will typically make 2 or 3 different dosages for patients that will fit most of the majority of the population that's intended for.
Okay.
And sometimes those dosages aren't effective for people.
Well, and
so does that make sense?
Well, that population I'm about will be different weights, different ages.
Yeah, or they have allergies, so we can make stuff without dyes, without fillers. So again, we're not for necessarily the majority of the population, but 80% doesn't include everybody.
Right.
So that's where patient-specific comes in. And we call it,
I was going to say pills are not a one-size-fits-all.
Well, I would think because, we all have older members in our family, and I can't tell how many times I had my grandma and grandpa say, well, I'm taking this pill because I'm allergic to this pill, and it counteracts this pill.
Yep.
So what you're telling me is, as the medical industry, pharmacy industry has learned, you can't remedy that all in one shot, but you can get specific to the individual patient's needs and allergies, is what you're saying?
Correct. Typically. Wow. I mean, it just depends on their situation.
Right. And so you work I would think, than the doctor, you deal with doctors that dive in a little deeper on a patient's history, and they're not just making a blanket recommendation. They're actually trying to make something specific to fix a problem.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to a doctor's office and they ask for allergies.
Right.
Okay, or they've tried
Which I always just guess. Yeah. I'm like, apparently I'm allergic to beer.
Well, that's not good.
Right, I know it's not.
That's
it's
not
a terrible
good,
thing.
especially being allergic to beer. Yes, you need to know your allergies.
I'm gluten,
especially if you can't swallow things, right?
Yes, See, we're going to talk about my laundry list.
So we don't have enough time for that. Basically, we go out to the different disciplines, which we can talk about in a little bit. Different types of doctors. We let them know what we can provide for them, and a lot of this information comes from pharmacists learning. It also comes from what other doctors are doing in their field in other parts of town or the states. So multiple ways that we can get ideas to help patients.
That's awesome. Okay. All right. Haley, how'd you get into pharmacy? What led you down that path?
When I was in undergrad at South Alabama in Mobile, I decided that I was very interested in medicine, always had a passion for the sciences and math in school. And so my original thought and plan for my life was that I wanted to go to medical school.
All right.
And then obviously...
So you were one of those kids.
I was one of those kids,
man.
exactly. And so once I entered college and, just really started delving into studies and then understanding what that path looked like for the rest of my life, my mama heart said, I don't think that's for you. I think that you need to explore other avenues in healthcare, knowing that I, wanted to get married and have a family and have more flexibility to be there for those things. Not to say that doctors can't do those things, but
sometimes those things get put on hold.
Some of the lifestyles with the extended schooling, residency, those types of things. So I shadowed a physical therapist, I shadowed a pharmacist, and decided that pharmacy was so interesting. There were multifacets of pharmacy that you could get in and experience. And then because I did enjoy math and science, I mean, that was right up my alley. So
That's right. You do. You constantly doing formulas,
you're
right?
exactly right.
Right.
Yes, you're exactly
My mom
right.
just did a backflip because she's a math teacher,
Yes.
and she'd always tell us math is in everything. Pay attention. And we're like, we don't need any of this.
Yeah.
You
Right.
either love it or you hate it.
Right. Right. Or you grow up with your mom as a math
Right.
teacher, and then yes.
That's right. And math can be proven. It's black and white. We have equations. We have formulas. We have knowns.
Right.
And so I love that. In black and white, I do enjoy that.
So you get challenged every day then. I mean,
Every day. We
yeah.
have doctors that consult us, for specific patient cases. I've got a patient with this. How can you help?
Right.
We've got a new formula for this. What are your thoughts? You have to take into consideration the patient, their allergies, just like John was saying. It's problem solving every day,
Right.
and I enjoy that. And then I enjoy most of all the reward from that.
Right.
Patients saying that I've dealt with this for years, and now I have a solution, a customized solution,
Right.
and I have relief, and it can be a game changer and increase in quality of life, and no more worries about how am I going to address this. I haven't had this need met through traditional pharmacy.
Well, that's phenomenal. All right. So again, Josh Knoll coming to you here. This is for you, Lori. WAVF 1480 coming to you from downtown Fairhope. I'm joined by John Hart and Hayley Thompson of Compound Pharmaceutical Technologies. If y'all are just joining us, John, I want to dive into, you are the founder of Compound Pharmaceutical. How did that come about?
Back in 2000, I moved back from Atlanta to be close to family
Right.
and to raise my son. And I initially got into sales for another compounding pharmacy, and we were doing basically nebulizer treatments and breathing treatments. And after a few different owners, I decided to open up my own pharmacy in 2007. I think it was just kind of by fate that happened. Prior to that, I did do some social work, and there is a parallel with what Hayley was saying is we help people.
Right.
We help change lives. We help people live better lives. In fact, that's one of our mantras.
Right.
And the other thing is we're creating solutions and solving problems.
Right.
And so both of us have that type of personality, and so does Craig, our pharmacist manager. We look at this as a ministry, and we're actually really helping people. Whether it's hormone balancing, whether it's pain medications, whether it's actually medications for children. We've got hundreds of stories where we could tell you that we've helped people do better in this world.
Well, okay, I'd like to take a piece of that if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
The hormone balancing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if we dive into that topic a little bit?
That's actually an emphasis we're working on.
Okay, because I know that in addition to trying to get prescriptions and medications correct with an aging population, right,
Mm-hmm.
and all the things that we eat and we drink, and trying to get that part right. In addition to that has a pretty significant impact on men and women, on their hormone balance, on the internal chemistry.
Yeah.
Do y'all deal with that at all? Is that part of your pharmacy? You want to jump in on that, Haley?
We do.
Yeah.
What do y'all do with that?
It's actually one of our specialties. So as we age, we want to keep our quality of life and keep our vitality. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure your hormones are balanced, and our bodies are all working together in this finely knit web. And when one thing kind of falls off, which naturally happens as we age, we have to address it and bring it back up to normal levels. And we like to approach that from a natural way. It's called a bioidentical hormone replacement.
All right, we're going to say that again.
Okay.
All right. How you spell that? Bioidentical?
Bioidentical.
Identical. All right.
Correct.
All right. Bioidentical hormone replacement. So that's not like, old Dr. Bob just giving me a shot in my butt and off I go on my way, right?
That's right. So
Okay,
we're
this is a little different.
That's right.
It's a lot different.
That's
Okay.
right. We're working with products that imply what that name means. They mimic your body's natural hormones. And so when we introduce those into our system, we can help to improve overall quality of life.
Now, do you work with both men and women along that path?
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there
because
certain...
both men and women's hormones naturally decrease as we age.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my testosterone would...
Well,
hit the floor.
and even as far as aging, it doesn't mean you're old or elderly if you need hormones. I mean,
That's right.
when you get into your 20s and 30s, you're already starting to decline.
That's right.
Yes.
And when women get into their 40s,
Especially me that peaked early.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right. And when women get in their 40s, their progesterone has decreased 80% already,
Okay.
and you're not in balance even with that.
I'll be.
So I'll let Hayley talk a little bit more about that. But I don't want people to think that because they are on hormone replacement therapy that means they're old. I mean,
Right.
we're all aging.
Right.
And you can work all you want on the outside and work out and do push-ups and burpees,
Obviously.
but you got to take care of the inside,
Right.
because one affects the other.
That's right.
And so I'll let Hayley kind of talk about some of the symptoms that may occur when you're deficient in your progesterone, estrogens, or testosterone.
Yeah, I mean, what should people look for? What would be a trigger point? And then I want to talk about how the conversation actually gets initialized directly to your all's business. But what would be, I'm 44-year-old guy. What things start going sideways? What am I looking for, and what triggers that phone call?
Right. So, for men and women, it can be, mood changes, irritability, anxiety,
energy,
low libido, low energy. Women specifically, hot flashes, night sweats, foggy brain,
hair loss is
hair loss. Correct.
You have anything for irritable kids? Is that part of the treatment, or?
We could probably compound.
Because I think I just
something for
checked
we
all
can
those.
compound something for you or them. So
Right, that would be great.
yeah.
All right, so someone has is like you said, it's not necessarily an admission that you're getting older, and I think there's enough information going around now. People realize, man, no matter what you do, your body starts changing, and you can either do some things that are not good for it in a desperate attempt to hit the fountain of youth, or maybe you can do some things that are managed and thoughtful to kind of slow the decline and maybe get some things going. So how would they go about? Would they ask their doctor? I mean, how do they start that conversation? How do they eventually find their way to maybe potentially working with you all?
Well, I think the first thing to realize is that we live in a very, very busy culture.
Oh,
and
yes.
we are under a tremendous amount of stress.
Right.
And I don't think we slow down enough. I don't think we pay attention to our bodies enough.
Right.
So the first thing I would do is to, really assess, slow down, think about your life. Think about what type of quality of life you want. And if some of these symptoms, and we can talk about our website later, but any of these things that people deal with can improve. I mean, we're not going to cure everything, but we can help manage this world and life and family and careers better by being balanced. To answer your question specifically, if some of these are symptoms or something you're struggling with, you can talk to your doctor about it. But not every doctor really knows about the wide range that's available with compounding.
Right.
A lot of patients are on hormone replacement therapy, but they're getting it from their big box stores.
Right.
It's from pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
They're typically made
One size fits all, like you
synthetic
said earlier.
or conjugated, which means they've been altered chemically.
Okay.
And what we're offering, like she said, is a more natural-based product and active chemical. So if your doctor's not familiar with, our company or compounding, then a couple of things can happen. The doctors can call us. What we do have a lot is for patients to come in and do a consult with either Hayley or Craig.
Oh, really? So they can actually come into your all's location
To talk to us,
in
yeah.
Daphne
Yeah.
and have a conversation. I did not realize that.
Yeah, you want to talk a
Okay.
little bit about that, Hayley, and what
Yeah.
what happens when they come in?
Sure. So we have some questionnaires that they can fill out that tell us, about what symptoms they may be having, maybe some goals of therapy, their overall wellness goal. They can bring us any lab work that they may have from their provider, and then we will take that information, discuss it together. Craig and myself will discuss it together and, propose some treatment options. Now, we cannot prescribe any medication as pharmacists, so at that point we will give the patient the information, and we can either proceed with trying to talk to their doctor about our suggestions, and then that would totally be up to the doctor as to what they decide to do at that point.
Okay. And, a lot of times when you go to a doctor's office and you get like antibiotics, they say, where do you want to get called in at? Patients can actually take the initiative and say, hey, Doc, Dr. Bob, would you mind that I'd like you to look into compound pharmaceuticals? Is that something that's appropriate for a patient to ask?
It is, and I think it's important to know that not every compounding pharmacy is the same. We are actually nationally accredited.
Okay.
We are one of the only non-sterile compounding pharmacies south of Montgomery.
Did not know that.
Yeah, less than 2% of compounding pharmacies in the nation are actually accredited. So our standards are pretty high. If the doctors aren't willing to maybe proceed down this path, which is totally understandable,
Right.
We do have other providers in the area that are proponents of compounding, and that does happen. But our job is not to take away the relationship that you have with your own doctor. It's more to enhance it. And that's one of the biggest differences is you can actually walk in, sit down, and talk to our pharmacist, whether it's about, hormones or pain or dermatology, any of these different areas. They can come in and talk. Whenever I go to get my prescriptions filled at other pharmacies, if we don't carry it, I mean, they're slammed, they're busy. You get a couple of seconds with them. They ask if you can do a consult. But, you're kind of around a bunch of people. And so it's more of an intimate, I would say, safe and personal aspect that we take to medicine. But
it's privacy. I mean, you all have a nice conference room.
A consult room.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a consult
you've got the
room.
ability to go there and have a one-on-one conversation.
And I would say that is a tremendous benefit of compounding is that we are looking to problem solve. So that's what we do all day. So we are there to help you do that and want to take the time to help you do that.
Well, I think that sounds awesome. Plus, too, I want to make a note here in the show that we're going to have a video of where you all are located, so help people find the location over in Daphne. And we'll, at the end of the show, we're going to list your address, all your contact info for people to come out. I did not realize that someone could come directly there. That's phenomenal.
I'll tell you this. We just did a talk at the Fairhope Yacht Club this past Saturday evening. We had about 15 women. Most of them were in their 40s. There was one or two that were older than that. And by the end of the hour and a half talk, when I was kind of telling them thank you for coming, you could see hope, in their eyes.
Right.
I mean, these women were desperate. Some of their doctors aren't listening to them.
Right.
They're afraid. They don't think they can feel better. So it was one of the best moments. Hayley and I were talking about it. Is when they were done, they were so open to their issues, their problems. I mean, even our pharmacist asked the women to raise their hand if they deal with hair loss. And 90% of the women raise their hand.
Deal with hair loss.
They deal with hair loss.
Something that you wouldn't think of as a man, to be honest with you.
They're afraid, they're embarrassed,
Right.
They don't know who to go to. Their doctor said, we can't treat that. But there are things that can be done to help improve the probability of getting some effective treatments for that.
That's phenomenal.
We have time to talk to the patients about that. So I think that's something that we offer.
All right. So, couple things. We got a good another about 5 minutes or so. I wanted to ask you all. This is a piece of the show that we do that I get asked about a lot. Hayley, I'll start with you. So it's the first time I've had two guests. If you could go back, right now, someone, whether you realize it or not, somebody's daughter is paying attention to your career path, and they're wondering, how did you become a pharmacist? If you could go back in time and give young Hayley a piece of advice or a little nugget, something that caught you by surprise, maybe something, just some little nugget of something you learned on that journey that maybe you could pass on to the next person think about doing that.
The journey just to becoming a pharmacist?
Yes.
Or about the profession itself?
Journey to becoming a pharmacist, and both, because you've obviously thought about them.
But I would definitely say the journey to becoming a pharmacist. Don't set your goals low. Like, shoot for the stars.
Right.
Because with a focused mind and a driven heart and a passionate heart, it will take you, places that you never imagined going.
Right.
To instill that confidence in you, to do and to live out your dreams. On my path to becoming a pharmacist, I was so excited about truly being able to make a difference for my patients' lives, and then really have a work and a home balance with doing that.
Right.
Because pharmacy itself allows for more flexible hours. Fortunately, I work in a pharmacy where I have the weekends off, I have the holidays off.
Love it. All right. So I don't mean to pick on you, but I'm going to guess you and I were not quite that hyper focused at 18 or 19 years old.
Still am not.
Right. I graduated with a couple degrees.
Exactly.
Don't know how that happened.
Psychology and business.
Right. Yeah. And meandered on my. I would say I've been gainfully unemployed for 20 years. So what, John, what little nugget business owners, entrepreneurs are looking, we're getting more and more people, the business owners watching this show, they want to learn about what you do. That's a part of our listeners, but a lot of people are trying to figure out how in the world did Compound Pharmaceuticals come about, and what nuggets could you pass on? I mean, things that you did not see coming.
Well, I'll tell you, reading Good to Great is a phenomenal book.
Agreed.
And also a book called E-Myth, which is Entrepreneurial Myth. And basically, in one or two sentences, that book says, just because you were good in sales doesn't mean you're going to be a good owner.
Correct. Sometimes they are converse.
Correct.
Converse.
And so what advice would I give? I got into it because many reasons, good and bad, just took a risk. It
Right.
takes a lot of risk. You're never going to have it all figured out, which is not my personality. I like to have everything fixed and make sure it's going to be okay. And that's the last thing you get when being your own business owner.
Especially the level of business you have.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I have learned, I think if I could change something, I thought being nice to all the employees all the time would make them change or be better,
Sure.
and just speak positive to
Sure.
them. Basically, that's called avoiding conflict, and that is not good.
Works at home.
So I've
sometimes.
learned, and it took me, 6 or 7 years to start to be honest about expectations of where they need to improve.
Right.
I mean, we can sit in an evaluation and we can say, okay, you need to work on this, but to pull someone aside and said, that's what I was talking about.
Right.
Fortunately, I have a lot of awesome employees, and I don't really have to do that much. But being honest is really about being respectful to the human being and the dignity.
Right.
And so if I could do anything over, I would have started being honest and made different decisions. And sometimes it means letting people go who are not a good fit for your pharmacy.
Right.
Doesn't mean they're bad or whatever, but maybe their path needs to go down a different way.
Right.
So if that makes sense, that's what I would do differently. I don't like hurting people or
Well-
being mean, but sometimes you're holding people back, and they're not going to change, and they're not
listen.
supposed to be in that environment. And so that's kind of, and I still struggle with that. I mean, that's a part that I'm still trying to work on even today.
Hey,
So
I had a basketball buddy that gave me an inside sales job years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I was horrible. I mean, I was really, really bad, like last on the chart every
Yeah.
month kind of thing. And he pulled me in there, and he fired me.
okay.
And it was really like, what do you can't, I'm your friend,
I'm
right?
Josh.
Come on, come on. And it led to what you see today.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the last
Yeah.
job I had before this. And I see him, his name's Kyle. Kyle, if you're watching.
Yeah.
I see him all the time. I thank him. I was like, man, I'm glad you had the guts and the brains to realize this was not for me.
Yeah.
Because inside sales, sitting on a phone, calling people,
Yeah.
not me.
Yeah.
right?
And some people are blessed at that. They
Some people are
love
great.
talking on the phone, and that's who you have to find those. An owner needs to know what they're good at and where they're weak.
All right. Okay, so let's dive in. Where do we find, or let's lay this out. Where do they find Compound Pharmaceuticals Technologies? Where y'all located?
Yeah, we're located in Daphne, behind Urgent Care by the Bay and the new Premier Medical building.
Okay.
Used to be the Kia dealership. That's
Yes.
called Stanton Road.
Okay.
So we're back there off of Stanton Road, across from Jordan Automotive, and I think Cockrell's Body Shop is back there. And we're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
What's y'all's address?
Address is 1048 Stanton Road,
Okay. All right.
Suite B,
And what's phone number?
251-626-2820, and our website is www.cptinc.org,
Say that one more time.
www.cptinc.org.
Well, on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our show. Y'all did great. All
Thank
right?
you. We appreciate
First
it.
radio show, my second, so we made it through.
All right.
All right. So, again, I'm Josh Knoll with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. I'm located in downtown Fairhope. I was joined today by Mr. John Hart, Mrs. Hayley Thompson of Compound Pharmaceuticals Technologies. This was in Focus on the 5. I appreciate you all joining us today. And unless Lori is telling me anything I need to add, have a great day. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Focus on the 5. If you are interested in learning more about Josh Knoll and Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, you can find us at gulfcoastfa.com, call 251-327-2124, email josh.knoll@gulfcoastfa.com, or message us on Facebook. Focus on the Five is produced by Josh Knoll of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. Advisory services offered through Investment Advisors, a division of Pro Equities Inc., a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Pro Equities Inc., a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA and SIPC. Gulf Coast Financial Advisors is independent of Pro Equities Inc. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Focus on the Five offers commentary and generalized research, not personalized investment advice. Show content is for informational purposes only and does not constitute complete description of our investment services or performance. All investments involve risk and unless otherwise stated are not guaranteed. Be sure to consult a tax professional before implementing any investment strategy.